Picture this, I'm standing in a bridal boutique at 6 a.m., staring at what used to be my dream wedding dress, now slashed beyond repair with fabric scissors. The wedding is in 4 hours. My sister Emma stands behind me, fake tears streaming down her face, claiming she accidentally grabbed the wrong dress from my closet. But here's what she didn't know, her fiancé Daniel had been texting me for weeks, telling me he was marrying the wrong sister. And by the end of this day, everyone would know it too. If you've ever had a sibling who made your life hell out of pure jealousy, this story will hit different. Before we dive in, smash that like button if you believe in karma, and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one because what happened next changed everything. My name is Catherine Blake, and at 28, I thought I had my life figured out. I was 3 days away from marrying Daniel Thompson, a successful investment banker who checked every box my parents had ever dreamed of for their eldest daughter. Our wedding was going to be the event of the season, 250 guests, cathedral ceremony, reception at the Ritz-Carlton. Everything perfect, everything planned down to the last detail. Or so I thought. Let me take you back to the beginning, because this story doesn't start with a destroyed dress. It starts with a lifetime of living in my younger sister's shadow, despite being everything my parents claimed they wanted in a daughter. Emma and I had always been different. Where I was studious and responsible, she was spontaneous and charming. Where I graduated summa cum laude from Northwestern and built a successful marketing consultancy by 25, she bounced between jobs and boyfriends with the carefree attitude of someone who knew the family safety net would always catch her. But here's the thing about golden children, they're not used to losing. And they definitely don't like it when the responsible sister finally gets something they want. The problem started 6 months ago when I announced my engagement to Daniel. We'd been dating for 2 years, a steady, comfortable relationship that made sense to everyone who knew us. Daniel was handsome in that clean-cut, corporate way, 6'2", broad shoulders, the kind of smile that looked great in engagement photos. He was successful, came from a good family, and treated me well. On paper, we were perfect. But Emma couldn't stand it. Catherine's getting married before me, she'd whine to our mother the day after I announced the engagement. She's always been so boring. What does she know about love? Mom had hushed her, but I'd heard every word from the kitchen where I was cleaning up after the family dinner where we'd shared our news. It stung, but I was used to Emma's jealousy. She'd always been competitive with me, despite being the obvious favorite. The first red flag should have been when Emma insisted on being my maid of honor. She'd never shown much interest in my life before, but suddenly she was all over the wedding planning, wanting to be involved in every decision. Sisters should stick together, she'd said with that sweet smile that fooled everyone but me. I want to make sure your day is absolutely perfect. She threw herself into the role with enthusiasm that seemed genuine. She came to every dress fitting, helped coordinate with vendors, even organized my bachelorette party. For a few months, I let myself believe that maybe this wedding had brought us closer together. Maybe she was finally ready to be the sister I'd always wanted. I should have trusted my instincts. The second red flag came during my final dress fitting, 2 weeks before the wedding. I was standing on the platform in my gown, a stunning creation in silk and French lace that had taken 4 months to make. The seamstress was making final adjustments when I caught Emma's reflection in the mirror. Her face wasn't showing the supportive joy you'd expect from a maid of honor. Instead, there was something cold in her eyes, calculating. "You look beautiful, Kat," she said, but her voice was flat. "Daniel is so lucky." There was something in the way she said his name that made my skin crawl. A familiarity that felt wrong. "Emma, is everything okay?" I asked, turning to face her. Her mask slipped back into place instantly. "Of course. I'm just emotional." My big sister is getting married. But her smile didn't reach her eyes. The third red flag came 3 days before the wedding, during the rehearsal dinner. I was in the bathroom freshening up when I heard voices outside the door. Daniel and Emma. You can't keep looking at me like that, Emma was saying. People will notice. I can't help it, Daniel replied, his voice lower than I'd ever heard it. You know how I feel. My blood turned to ice. I pressed closer to the door, straining to hear more. Daniel, we talked about this. Catherine can never know. But after the wedding, we'll figure it out. But you have to marry her first. The family would never forgive us if you left her at the altar. I felt like I was going to be sick. My fiancé and my sister were planning, what exactly? An affair? Were they already having one? I stood there in that bathroom stall, my hands shaking, trying to process what I'd just heard. Daniel, my steady, reliable Daniel, was in love with my sister. And Emma, my maid of honor, was encouraging him to go through with marrying me anyway. The rational part of my brain told me to confront them immediately. To call off the wedding, expose them both, and walk away with whatever dignity I had left. But another part of me, a part one didn't know existed, wanted to see how far they'd go. How much they were willing to hurt me for their own selfish desires. I decided to wait and watch. Over the next 2 days, I became hyper-aware of every glance between them, every accidental touch, every moment they thought I wasn't looking. And there were so many moments. Daniel's hand lingering on Emma's waist as he helped her out of his car. Emma's fingers trailing across his arm as she laughed at his jokes. The way they seemed to have entire conversations with just their eyes across crowded rooms. How long had this been going on? How had I been so blind? The night before the wedding, I lay awake next to Daniel in our hotel suite, staring at the ceiling. He was fast asleep, probably dreaming about my sister. I wanted to shake him awake, to scream at him, to demand answers. Instead, I got up quietly and went to sit by the window overlooking the city. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma, "Can't sleep either? So excited for tomorrow. You're going to be the most beautiful bride." The casual cruelty of it took my breath away. She was texting me sweet messages while planning to steal my husband. The sister I'd protected, defended, and loved unconditionally my entire life was about to destroy me. That's when I made my decision. If they wanted to play games, I'd play along. But I'd play to win. I spent the rest of the night planning. By dawn, I had a strategy that would give them exactly what they deserved. The morning of the wedding dawned gray and drizzly, which seemed appropriate. I woke up early and drove to the bridal boutique to pick up my dress for final touch-ups. The plan was simple: get ready at the church, have photos taken, walk down the aisle to marry the man I thought I loved. But when I arrived at the boutique at 6 a.m., my life changed forever. There, hanging in tatters on the dress form, was my wedding dress. The silk bodice had been slashed with scissors, the delicate lace sleeves destroyed, the beading scattered across the floor like fallen tears. Months of work, thousands of dollars, and my dream dress, completely ruined. And standing behind me, having followed me into the boutique, was Emma. "Oh my God, Kat," she gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. What happened? Who could have done this? I stared at her reflection in the mirror. Her surprise looked genuine, but I could see something else underneath. Satisfaction. This had been planned. "I don't know," I said quietly, my voice surprisingly steady. "When did you get here, Emma?" "Just now. I came to help you get ready and saw your car in the parking lot." She moved closer, placing what was supposed to be a comforting hand on my shoulder. "Oh, sweetie, I'm so sorry. What are we going to do?" The we was particularly rich, considering she'd obviously done this herself. But I played along. I guess I'll have to call off the wedding, I said, letting my voice crack just a little. There's no way to fix this in 4 hours. No. Emma said quickly, then caught herself. I mean, we can't let this ruin your special day. There has to be something we can do. I watched her in the mirror, noting how her eyes lit up at the prospect of the wedding being called off. This was exactly what she'd wanted: chaos, disappointment, and Daniel left standing at the altar, free to console the grieving sister. Actually, I said slowly, as if the idea was just occurring to me, you know what? You're right. I can't let some sick person destroy my wedding day. Her face fell slightly. What do you mean? I'll wear your maid of honor dress. We can tell everyone there was a mix-up with the delivery. You can wear something else, or... I paused, watching her face carefully. Maybe you shouldn't be in the wedding party at all. This is clearly too stressful for you. No. The word came out sharper than she intended. I mean, I want to be there for you, Kat. We'll figure something out. Of course she did. She needed to be there to watch me marry the man she thought she was stealing. But here's what Emma didn't know: I'd been busy during my sleepless night. While she and Daniel thought they were so clever with their secret affair, I'd been gathering evidence. Screenshots of text messages Daniel had left open on his laptop. Photos I'd secretly taken of their whispered conversations. Voice recordings from my phone when I'd pretended to be making calls while actually capturing their discussions. And I'd made some calls of my own. The first call was to Alexander Hayes, Daniel's business partner and best man. Alexander had always been kind to me, and I'd noticed that he seemed uncomfortable around Daniel lately. It turned out my instincts were right. Catherine, Alexander had said when I called him at 2 a.m., I was wondering when you'd figure it out. You knew? I've suspected for weeks. Daniel hasn't been himself. He's been distracted, guilty about something. And the way he looks at Emma. Alexander sighed. I should have said something sooner. Why didn't you? Because I hoped I was wrong. And because I'd been in love with you since the day Daniel introduced us, and I thought my feelings were clouding my judgment. That confession had taken my breath away. Alexander, steady, kind, genuinely good Alexander, had feelings for me? I thought back to all our interactions over the past 2 years. The way he always seemed to listen more intently when I spoke. How he remembered small details about my life that even Daniel forgot. The way his face lit up when I entered a room. How had I missed it? Alexander, I'd whispered into the phone, what would you say if I told you I was going to call off the wedding? I'd say it's about time. The second call was to my cousin Olivia, a divorce attorney who specialized in high-conflict cases. She'd helped me understand exactly what evidence I'd need to prove Daniel's infidelity in our prenup agreement. The prenup that would leave him with nothing if he cheated. The third call was to my Uncle Robert, who happened to be one of the city's most prominent wedding photographers. He owed me a favor from when I'd helped save his business with a marketing campaign, and he was more than happy to help document what was about to happen. By morning, everything was in place. Okay, I told Emma in the boutique, forcing tears into my eyes, you're right. I can't let this destroy my wedding day. But I need you to do something for me. Anything, she said, moving closer with false concern. I need you to go to the church and make sure Daniel is okay. Tell him about the dress situation, but reassure him that everything's going to be fine. Can you do that? Her eyes practically glowed. Alone time with Daniel while I was dealing with the crisis she'd created? It was exactly what she wanted. Of course, Kat. I'll take care of everything. After she left, I made one more call, to the boutique owner, Mrs. Williams, who I'd already briefed on the situation. The security cameras caught everything, she confirmed. Your sister entered through the back door at 3 a.m. using the key you gave her for emergencies. We have clear footage of her destroying the dress. Perfect. Send the footage to my lawyer and make sure it's timestamped. The next part of my plan required perfect timing. I drove to my apartment and changed into a simple black dress, elegant, but clearly not bridal attire. Then I headed to the church. When I arrived, the parking lot was already full. Through the windows, I could see guests milling around, checking their watches. The ceremony was supposed to start in 30 minutes. I found Alexander in the groom's room, adjusting his tie with shaking hands. Catherine, he said, his face flooding with relief. I was so worried when Emma said there was a problem with your dress. Where is Daniel? He went to get some air. He seemed agitated after Emma talked to him. I bet he did. No doubt she'd told him the wedding might be called off, and he was probably torn between relief and panic about how to handle the situation. Alexander, I said, reaching for his hands, I need you to know that whatever happens in the next hour, I'm grateful for your friendship. You've been the best part of this entire experience. He squeezed my hands gently. Catherine, what's going on? You'll see. But first, I need you to trust me. No matter what I say or do out there, I need you to trust that I know what I'm doing. Before he could respond, I heard commotion outside. Daniel had returned, and from the sound of his voice, he was in full panic mode. Where is she? Is she calling it off? Emma said the dress was destroyed, but she's being weird about the details. I stepped out of the room and into the hallway. Daniel was pacing near the sanctuary doors, his usually perfect hair disheveled, his bow tie crooked. When he saw me, he froze. Kat? Why aren't you in your dress? What's going on? Hello, Daniel, I said calmly. We need to talk. Now? The ceremony starts in 20 minutes. The guests are all here. Your parents are asking questions I can't answer. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you decided to have an affair with my sister. The color drained from his face. Behind him, I saw Emma emerge from the bridal suite, her face painted with fake concern until she heard my words. Then her expression shifted to something closer to panic. Catherine, what are you talking about? Daniel stammered. I would never, the rehearsal dinner bathroom, I said simply. You two discussing how you'd figure it out after the wedding. The past 6 months of lingering touches, secret looks, and text messages you thought I didn't see. Emma stepped forward, her mask of innocence still in place. Kat, you're stressed. The dress situation has you confused, the dress situation that you created when you broke into the boutique at 3 a.m. and destroyed my gown with fabric scissors? I pulled out my phone and showed them both the security footage Mrs. Williams had sent me. You mean that dress situation? The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the murmur of guests from the sanctuary, probably wondering why the ceremony hadn't started yet. Daniel's face went through several emotions, shock, guilt, fear, and finally, something like relief. Catherine, I can explain. Can you explain why you were going to marry me while being in love with my sister? Can you explain why you were planning to have an affair immediately after our honeymoon? Or can you explain why you're such a coward that you couldn't just call off the wedding yourself? It's not what you think, Emma said desperately. We never meant for this to happen. It just developed over time. When did it start? I asked, my voice still eerily calm. They looked at each other, and I saw years of secret communication pass between them. 6 months ago, Daniel said quietly. Right after we announced the engagement. Emma came to me because she was upset, and we started talking, And you realized you were marrying the wrong sister, I finished. How romantic. Catherine, please, Emma said, tears starting to fall. I never wanted to hurt you. I love you. You're my sister. You love me so much that you destroyed my wedding dress and planned to steal my husband. That's a very special kind of love, Emma. The door to the sanctuary opened, and my father peered out. Catherine? What's going on? The guests are getting restless. I looked at my father, this man who had always favored Emma but expected me to be the responsible one, the one who held everything together. Then I looked at Daniel, who was still staring at me with guilty panic. Finally, I looked at Emma, my baby sister, who had just tried to destroy the most important day of my life out of pure jealousy. Actually, Dad, I said loudly enough for my voice to carry into the sanctuary, there's been a change of plans. I walked past all of them and through the doors into the main church. 250 people turned to look at me, their faces registering confusion at my simple black dress and composed demeanor. Ladies and gentlemen, I said, my voice carrying clearly through the space, thank you all for being here today. Unfortunately, there will not be a wedding. Gasps echoed through the sanctuary. My mother half stood from her seat in the front row, her face a mask of horror. The reason, I continued, is that I've discovered that my fiancé and my maid of honor have been having an affair for the past 6 months. The gasps turned to shocked murmurs. Someone near the back actually said, "Oh my God," loud enough for everyone to hear. Rather than go through with a marriage based on lies and betrayal, I've decided to end this charade now, in front of all of you, so there can be no confusion about what happened here today. Daniel appeared beside me, his face red with embarrassment and anger. Catherine, you don't have to do this. We can work this out privately. Like you worked out your relationship with my sister privately? I turned to face him fully. Daniel, did you or did you not tell Emma 3 days ago that you were in love with her? The sanctuary was so quiet you could hear people breathing. Daniel looked out at all the faces staring at him, his colleagues, his family, our friends, and I saw the moment he realized his reputation was about to be destroyed. Answer the question, Daniel. Yes, he said quietly. And Emma, I called to where she was hovering near the doorway. Did you or did you not sabotage my wedding dress this morning to try to ruin my wedding day? Emma looked like a deer caught in headlights. Her perfect makeup was streaking down her face, and for the first time in her life, she was facing consequences for her actions with an audience. I was trying to protect you, she said weakly. By destroying my property and stealing my fiancé? Ladies and gentlemen, I continued, turning back to the crowd, I apologize for wasting your time today. The reception is still paid for, so please feel free to stay and enjoy the food and music. Think of it as a celebration of my freedom. I started to walk back down the aisle, my head held high, when Alexander stepped into my path. Catherine, he said loudly enough for everyone to hear, before you go, there's something I need to say. Oh no. This wasn't part of the plan. Alexander was supposed to stay quiet and let me make my dramatic exit. 2 years ago, he continued, his voice carrying through the silent sanctuary, I watched my best friend fall in love with the most incredible woman I'd ever met. And I watched that woman try to love him back, even though I could see she deserved so much better. My heart started pounding. What was he doing? I kept quiet because he was my friend and business partner. I kept quiet because I thought she was happy. But I can't keep quiet anymore. He got down on one knee right there in the center aisle, and the entire sanctuary collectively held its breath. Catherine Blake, you are brilliant, beautiful, kind, and stronger than anyone I've ever known. You deserved a man who would love you completely, faithfully, and without reservation. Daniel Thompson was never that man, but I am. He pulled a ring box from his pocket, not the elaborate diamond Daniel had chosen, but a simple, elegant solitaire that was exactly my style. I know this is crazy timing, and I know you need time to heal from this betrayal. But I couldn't let you walk out of here thinking that all men are like Daniel. Some of us know a good thing when we see it, and we don't take it for granted. He looked up at me with those kind, honest eyes I'd somehow never really noticed before. I'm not asking you to marry me today. I'm asking you to give me a chance to prove that you deserve to be loved the way you should have been loved all along. The sanctuary was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Behind Alexander, I could see Daniel's face twisted with shock and what looked like jealousy. Emma was openly sobbing now, her careful makeup completely ruined. And my parents were staring at me with expressions I'd never seen before. Not disappointment or embarrassment, but something that looked almost like pride. I looked down at Alexander, this man who had been quietly loving me while I was planning to marry someone else. This man who had just risked his friendship, his business partnership, and his reputation to give me a chance at real happiness. Alexander, I said softly, but my voice carried in the silence, ask me again in 6 months. His face broke into the most beautiful smile I'd ever seen. I'll ask you every day for the rest of my life if that's what it takes. He stood up and, without thinking about our audience, I stepped into his arms. When he kissed me, the sanctuary erupted in applause. Not polite, confused applause, but genuine, enthusiastic clapping from people who had just witnessed something real and beautiful rise from the ashes of something fake and ugly. When we broke apart, I looked over his shoulder to see Daniel and Emma standing together near the altar, both of them looking lost and desperate. They had gotten exactly what they thought they wanted, each other, but now they had to face the consequences of how they'd gotten it. Ladies and gentlemen, I called out one more time, my hand still in Alexander's, the reception really is still on. Please celebrate with us, not a wedding, but something even better. A beginning. As people started filing out, chattering excitedly about what they'd just witnessed, my mother approached us. Catherine, she said quietly, I owe you an apology. And Alexander, welcome to the family. That's when I finally cried, not from sadness or betrayal, but from relief and unexpected joy. The reception turned into the most talked about non-wedding party in the city's history. People stayed, ate, danced, and celebrated what everyone was calling the most romantic thing they'd ever seen. Alexander and I spent the evening surrounded by friends and family who were genuinely happy for us, while Daniel and Emma slipped out early, their reputations in tatters. The security footage of Emma destroying my dress went viral when my cousin posted it online with the caption, "When you try to ruin your sister's wedding but karma has other plans." The video has been shared over 1 million times and spawned countless memes about sibling rivalry and wedding drama. Daniel lost several clients who didn't want to do business with someone they couldn't trust. His partnership with Alexander dissolved within a month, leaving Alexander free to start his own firm, which I helped him launch with my marketing expertise. Emma moved across the country, claiming she needed space to find herself. She and Daniel tried to make their relationship work, but it turns out that relationships built on betrayal and deception don't have strong foundations. They broke up within 3 months. And Alexander? Alexander kept his promise. He asked me out every day for 6 months, planning thoughtful dates, bringing me coffee when I was working late, and showing me what it felt like to be truly cherished by someone who put me first. On the 6-month anniversary of the non-wedding, he proposed again, this time privately, in the garden behind my apartment, with just the two of us and the sunset as witnesses. I said yes immediately. Our wedding was small, intimate, and absolutely perfect. Just family and close friends who loved and supported us. Emma wasn't invited, and Daniel had moved to another city by then. It was exactly what a wedding should be, a celebration of love, not a performance. We've been married for 2 years now, and every single day I wake up grateful that my sister destroyed my wedding dress. Because if she hadn't, I might have spent my life married to the wrong man, never knowing what real love felt like. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. My sister thought she was destroying my happiness, but she was actually setting me free to find it. Have you ever had a moment where someone's betrayal actually led to something better? Drop your story in the comments. I love hearing how karma works in mysterious ways. And if you believe that everything happens for a reason, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. Trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next.